You ever have a movie that you just vibe the hell out to? Like you're kind of having an iffy day, you're feeling a certain type of way, and you want to watch a movie that exudes the vibe that you're currently in, so you can quietly bask in your emotions for a couple hours, soaking in the human moment that you're currently experiencing, both internally and externally. Whenever I'm depressed, that's The Revenant, but that's not what this video is about. Interstellar is a Christopher Nolan movie, so I automatically like it. Nope. Just kidding. I was really annoyed when I first watched it, kind of like Tenet, but there was something about it that stuck with me. The experience that I had in the cinema didn't just exit my brain as soon as I left the theater mildly disappointed. I found myself watching Interstellar about once a year, and on my fifth watch, that's when I got it. Interstellar is about a lot of things. It deals with time and space and our place in the universe, pontificating on our future as a species, and posits we may be evolving past the need for the planet Earth itself. But not to me. Interstellar is just about the vibes, bro. I made that song. I have new music out. Check it out. If you haven't seen it in a while, the plot is about galactic migration. Nature has started kicking everyone's ass, and soon Earth will be uninhabitable, so the people of Earth devise a way to leave. Cooper is a farmer, a former engineer and pilot, but more importantly, a dad. He stumbles into the space station because of some VFX that inexplicably renders in his daughter's bedroom. His daughter goes on and on about this ghost in my bookshelf, but Cooper just follows the binary coordinates from the dust. The astronauts say, hey, these aliens put this wormhole up in space, and they must have sent you too because you're a really good pilot. Come up with us into this wormhole and find us a new home. Cooper's like, yeah, right. And his daughter really hates him for leaving. Her ghost now is apparently telling him to stay, and then everyone in the audience immediately guesses the twist. We go up through the wormhole, they travel to each planet, and relativity makes him lose a lot of time, so now his daughter is an adult, and she tries to figure out how to solve this equation, but she can't because she needs data from a black hole, so she gives up and goes home to cry about her dad. The team goes to one planet, it's bad. They go to another planet, and not only is it bad, Matt Damon appears and he tries to kill everybody. They make it to the third planet by sacrificing Cooper into the mysterious black hole. Cooper lands in a big tesseract which shows his daughter's room through every point in time, and he sends her the quantum data from the black hole so that she can solve the equation. Bada bing, eureka, teleport, oh, it was me the whole time, boom. He reunites with his daughter, they have a big cry, then he leaves her to die to go booty call his new goth GF. Humanity saved, the end. What a load of bullshit. The script has a lot of flaws, right? That's what people say. Halfway through the movie, Anne Hathaway's character, who's a scientist, goes on a diatribe about how love might be the answer to everything. It comes out of nowhere, clearly just there to hammer home the theme. Yeah, it kind of sucks. Don't worry, I agree with you, it's bad. But while people hone in on the writing, I think they miss out on the directing choices by Christopher Nolan. There are different types of stories, genres, structures, and a billion technical words to talk about a film, but one often overlooked property of a movie is its tone. Or vibe, which I like better. We often talk about a film's tone as a descriptor, rather than an artistic achievement in itself. I don't know if I need to tell you this, but a film is not just a plot. And I'm not talking about execution of the story beats. I mean the feeling of the picture. This, to me, is the main responsibility of the director, who is in charge of how audio and visual elements blend to create a mood over the course of their project. If the vibe is consistent and distinct and interesting, to me, that's the mark of an effective director. Unlike techniques or even genres, vibes are harder to talk about. They demand less objective terminology when discussing them, because what even are vibes? However, you can use objective elements to explain why a film vibes in such a way as it may do. People don't tend to connect with this movie because of the conciseness of its plot. What's happening here fundamentally is a visual and audio experience, and I'm way more interested in how the film uses its craft in order to make that experience really unique and dynamic. I don't know if I've ever felt the feelings that I feel in this movie in any other movie, and I'm not just getting suckered into the daddy plot. I'm less like this when I'm watching Interstellar, and I'm more like this. The vibe is my favorite part of Interstellar. Not this, or this, or this, or this, or this. While all that stuff is really cool and exciting when you first watch it, it was actually this quiet little moment that managed to win me over. So why does Interstellar vibe so hard? I've narrowed down every technical reason that I think the vibes work really well, so we're gonna go through them in a numbered list. But to do that, we gotta get into the vibe zone. Ready? The vibe zone. Number one, world building. Interstellar opens up with a documentary about its Earth, where a natural disaster has crippled civilization. See, most of the time in sci-fi movies, the main character goes, my planet wasn't always like this long ago. Instead, we view it the same way people of the future would learn about it in history class, with stories from people who lived there describing how it felt to live in that world. The gritty details, the routines. It gives background to every character in the film and what kind of life that they've had. The similar yet very different struggles to us. It focuses on the specific tactile tactile details of life there. It's a lonely, dirty car on a lonely, dirty road in front of a lonely, dirty house. We get beautiful cinematography of the world intercut with this documentary, which is in a different aspect ratio. I tend to really enjoy when films are edited like this. It's a jarring visual presentation and it kind of snaps your brain into focusing up. But also, this totally spoils the film. People in the future are talking about the past and they seem to still be alive, so everything works. I really like this though. It sets up that this movie is going to chronicle the most important events of humanity at large. And when telling a grand epic tale like this, getting really specific with your setting makes the emotions and vibes more specific. Also, it doesn't feel like there's many people. It feels really lonely. I feel like I know what it's like to taste the air there. It's dusty. Number 2, Matthew McConaughey. McConaughey's an actor who just exudes vibes. His signature southern drawl gives him a really distinct sense of relaxation into his characters. It grounds his characters in a really nice way, whether they're a good person or a piece of shit. Here, though, he gives off a very warm uncle feeling, like a kind of cowboy daddy. His voice is super unique in sci-fi films like this.
Everybody ready to say goodbye to our solar system?
To hear the relaxing voice of a Texan in space feels almost like a juxtaposition. McConaughey's voice can be quite relaxing. Hearing his voice in space keeps us feeling quite safe, and it connects us subconsciously to his purpose for being there. He feels like a man who doesn't really belong in space, which connects us with his daughter who doesn't want him to be there. We don't hear southern accents very often in space odysseys, and it almost keeps it more human. It relaxes us when the film is trying to ease tension and connects us to his humanity when the stakes are high. He also clearly took this film very seriously, and I appreciate his casting. Cooper is a really interesting character. He's a McConaughey southern drawl farmer, but he talks like a scientist.
Gotta record the facts, analyze, then present your conclusions.
He knows everything there is to know about farming, but clearly wasn't made for that. He loves his kids as any human being would, but he strives for their independence. His kids are very different from each other, so he nurtures them differently, trying to make them the best version of themselves. Choices like that sell me on the fact he's a good father and cares about his child. Also makes me like him more because he's not a shitty dad. Number 3, the mystery. Ooh. So the inciting incident happens when a big dust cloud interrupts a baseball game. So Murph leaves her window open, and that means the giant dust cloud can get into her room, but there's this really weird gravitational anomaly accumulating the dust into a pattern. The pattern is binary code for coordinates, and Cooper goes to check it out, which you would, right? If sand magic pointed me to a place, you're damn right I'm headed right there. It's a nice enticing mystery, and something very active that he can bond over with his daughter. You ever noticed how many kids' books you used to read are actually just mystery stories? It's because they're cozy. Mysteries are fun little adventures of people, usually kids, trying to solve clues and hanging out with each other while they do it. We get these really sweet character beats where they're working on it together. Murph bringing him a sandwich, and Cooper excitedly explaining to her what he's finding out. Coop wants to go alone, but Murph sneaks into the car, and they take the long trek together. They don't pass a single car on the way. It's a really lonely journey. In this world, people like Cooper and Murph are really unique. No one cares about science anymore. The population is 90% farmers. Grandpa and Tom couldn't care less about the gravitational anomalies, but Murph and Cooper are scientists at heart. They are the only people who are curious enough to find out where they're being led. They're like the last explorers. You remember when you'd take a long drive with your parent and you'd get tired and fall asleep in the back seat with a blanket and soft lights passing you by? This scene captures that feeling for me in a really pure way. It feels so comfy. Dad wakes her up with that soft dad voice and she's all groggy and I just feel it. So we find this mysterious place, we're all cozy, and then a super scary bright light appears.
Don't be afraid.
That cut makes me laugh every time. After being interrogated by a fridge, Anne Hathaway rocks up and drops hints about what this facility might be. The boardroom guys are super vague about it. Apparently this is the best kept secret in the world, a secret facility underground. They're like, how did you get here? And Dad doesn't want to talk to them, and then
It was gravity.
everyone's kind of surprised. Then Hunger Games asks the kid to elaborate.
What sort of gravitational anomaly? Where was this?
Murph isn't played out to be some kind of genius just yet. She's still a child, but a child who's interested in science and at least understands the basics of what they're talking about. In this world, kids grow up to be farmers, so they're caught off guard by this kid's explanation being anything close to correct. And Hunger Games just goes, all right, let me ask you about this gravitational anomaly. This is a setup for Murph's huge role in the story later as the savior of humanity, and I appreciate that it's way more subtle than just a kid being a super genius and embarrassing someone. So we've built this up so much. What is this secret facility? What kind of futuro-scientific name does this project have?
We're NASA.
NASA.
Whoa. I love shit like this. Whenever you're trying to ground a story to make the world feel real, throwing in the familiar like this helps so much. You don't need to invent a new space program just because you're doing sci-fi. There already is one in reality. Keep it grounded. How would an existing government program adapt in the apocalypse? That's cool. Then Kane hits us with one of the craziest ideas in the film, that Cooper is actually the most qualified person in the world to pilot their ships, and they now want Cooper to lead their last mission. That's a crazy coincidence, but what makes this fun and not dull is that the characters don't really make a big deal out of the destiny aspect. They're kind of just like, well, I guess they sent you here and, you know, you'd be helpful, so want to help? Very last minute group project vibes. It's so bizarre that a simple journey to go find a place on a map suddenly turns into a request for him to leave his daughter behind forever. It almost feels spiritual. Everyone's just going with the flow here. It's also a good sign that you've really set up a nice mystery when you can sum it up in 2 words.
Who's they?
And now we're at the wormhole, my favorite concept in the movie, because it's so mysterious. See, wormholes are a real life mystery. It's a speculation based on relativity. The only way we could travel to other galaxies in a timely manner would be through a wormhole. But there's no wormhole in our solar system, we've checked. So if humans were ever going to have access to one, it would have to be placed there by something or someone. Who? It's a pretty cool question, but Interstellar doesn't linger on that who question for too long. All that matters is that we have a chance to start over. Interstellar captures the excitement about science by taking it to a theoretical extreme, wrapping it up in a very specific human mystery that anyone can understand. Who's helping us? The mystery element of this story is tied directly with real-life mysteries of science and space exploration. It elicits the same fascination that I used to get reading solar system books as a kid. Number 4, cinematography. So I've talked about Hoyt van Hoytema a lot. He shot most of my favorite films. The film looks beautiful, obviously, but I want to zero in on one particular aspect of it that makes Interstellar very unique. The aspect ratio. The choices when this film cuts to IMAX ratio feel very particular. Some of this film was shot in IMAX, which a lot of filmmakers decide not to letterbox because it's so huge and you want to use every inch of the image that you've captured. Sometimes this can be a little uncomfortable to watch, but Hoytema and Nolan developed a way to use this abrupt change in image size as a visual language. And I think I've cracked the code on that language. In general, when we're outside, we use IMAX, and when we're inside, it's 235. For example, when we're in the confined space of the ship, we get the letterbox view. It feels cramped and isolated. When we cut outside the ship, we get full screen views, the vastness of space overwhelming us. The camera locked onto the spacecraft similarly to the real life cameras on spaceships. Inside the ships, we get shaky handheld perspectives like with human eyes. But outside, we're clinging on for dear life to the vessel. Space is enormous, terrifying, and incomprehensible. But that rule is not always the case. Take, for example, the baseball game. We're outside, but the image is letterboxed. But when the player notices the giant cloud approaching him, we jump to full frame view. We see the vastness of the cloud. We're now dealing with something much bigger than a simple baseball game. It's more like IMAX communicates the unknown, the dangerous. So it's almost like the letterboxed view shows humanity. And whenever we step into the conflicts of the species as a whole, facing off with something bigger than humanity that they have to fight against, we get the full IMAX view. My favorite use of this visual language is right here, when Cooper leaves. So Daddy feels like he should go to space, and actually kind of wants to go to space to live his discarded astronaut dreams, but his kid is understandably upset by this. His relationship with his daughter is in tatters now, and he has no time to fix it and drives off in tears to go get in a rocket. If IMAX is communicating the unknown and the dangerous, then we should use it here, the moment that Cooper leaves his family behind, leaving home on a dangerous mission to save humanity without his kids by his side. Not in the rocket, but on the road away from his house, knowing that he's probably never going to come back. And because we've communicated this with visual language, we can skip all the preamble of the launch and just go right up into space. Number 5, sound. Cutting off sound when we're in space is perfect. I'm not saying it's like a genius idea or groundbreaking in any way, but I love Interstellar's use of this technique because of the consistency and the way it uses this dynamic element. It's super loud. We see all the terrified crew who have never done anything like this before, contrasted with Cooper's experience and determination. And then, quiet. The atmosphere slowly disappears as they get higher and higher, and the background noise fades away, until we only hear the sounds that our characters can hear, their breathing and radio comms. The sound mixing is always consistent. Whenever the camera is in space, we hear nothing. This, coupled with the locked off camera, ends up making space feel like a character in the film, and creates a very clear relationship between every human on the journey and the environment that they're traveling through. The crew has to dock onto the space station, and Daddy has to coach the other very nervous astronaut through it. These consistent cuts to silence are rhythmically placed in as Doyle is trying to man the ship. These camera angles also help to highlight the very little movement that there is in space, and we get a real feeling. They did it, yay! But these cut to silence moments don't just give us tension, they also emphasize the loneliness of space. When they dock with the Endurance and spin it around, there's a nice moment of levity. Romilly gets a little sick from the gravity change, and then this happens.
Okay, I think we have some Dramamine. I'm just gonna go get that.
Bring a lot.
The laugh is so loud and joyous, but we cut to nothing. Humanity is aboard this ship, but it's lonely and vulnerable. The film isn't just quiet for the sake of being accurate, it uses it to communicate something. Number 6, human details. There's a lot more humanity in this film than I remember. A lot of criticism of Interstellar came from its underplayed emotional center in favor of discussing the science elements and bigger ideas. But coming back to it, I found so many little details that end up accumulating to meet the need of that human element. It's subtle, but it is there when you're looking for it. I really like this detail with Bran. As they're boarding the Endurance, she gets freaked out by the door not opening right away.
Door's not charging. Never mind.
It's a totally inconsequential moment, but it reminds us through action that this is all new territory for her and everyone else in the crew. She's nervous. When Romilly is explaining the wormhole to Cooper using the pen into the paper thing, yes, it's very much for the audience, but look how excited he is as he does it. It's not a dry delivery, it's full of passion. It shows us his character.
That's it. That's the wormhole.
Characters tend to be very cold and depressed in a lot of space movies, but this one, everyone has warmth. There's no inner conflict that happens within the crew. They do argue about what they should be doing next, but I appreciate that everyone seems to be on the same side here. Dr. Mann doesn't count because he's absolutely out of his mind. The scenes are played very grounded. The characters do get very sad at points in this film, but they never hesitate to laugh when a moment of levity comes up.
Okay.
The humor is between characters, not for the audience. It keeps us reminded of what they are fighting for, the joy of life. Interstellar's tone is very serious, very dour, but also comfortable, and it relies on that tone to communicate a lot of what it's trying to accomplish. My favorite scene of Interstellar combines all of these elements. Grandpa and Dr. Brand look up into the sky in a very unique shot where the subject of their gaze is just an empty sky. They're up there that way.
Up here.
And in the most abrupt time jump, it's suddenly 2 years later. Saturn has never looked more beautiful, but it's not a majestic moment. All the score plays is lonely piano keys, and a brilliant scale shot appears. Saturn is huge, but it takes a second for us to recognize the ship. It's those couple pixels. The ship is just a speck compared to the gas giant. That's humans. That's how much we matter. Cooper's listening to something in his earbuds and spots Bromley having an anxiety attack. He's like, I am losing my mind, dude. I can't believe I'm in space. This is crazy. How am I not gonna die? And Cooper gives him some dad-like perspective.
You know that some of the finest solo yachtsmen in the world don't know how to swim. This is our boat.
He gives him his earbuds so we can hear what he's been listening to, and it's just sound. The juxtaposition of nature sounds in space feels like a warm hug. This scene has nothing to do with the plot. Just emotional relation and theming. I've never seen a movie about space that has made me feel so comfortable in its isolation. Number 7, the music. You thought I wasn't gonna talk about the music, did you? It's arguable that the music is the best part of this movie. Its unique use of instrumentation, particularly organs and clocks, coupled with a pop-style chord progression, gives it a warm and meditative feeling, which is the complete opposite of scary space quests. Early on in the process, Nolan asked Hans Zimmer to throw out any preconceived ideas of what a movie score could be and start from scratch with fresh ideas. The only sounds that we're ever gonna hear when we're out in space is the music. So getting a unique sound will help Interstellar stand out. This is cool. The organ is an instrument that literally breathes. Having the sound of breath carry us through space heightens the humanity of it all. But unlike the human voice, it's slightly artificial. It's technology. The machines and tech that the humans use is a really big part of this story, so it's more fitting to use the breathing of an instrument tinkered by a human from a cockpit of sorts. Alright, C major. The majority of this film's score is structured under C major, aka the most basic of basic keys in music. It's usually the first chord that is taught to a person trying to play piano, and is a key signature that's easy to teach music theory with.
So this chart is called C major. Right,
Okay.
so
It's the one with all those basic ass songs like Hallelujah and Let It Be. C major feels a lot like home.
and my job is to get back home.
Oh man, that sounded really good.
It's a place of returning back, perhaps back when you started, when you first touched a piano. You know that super sad melody that makes you cry? It's all C major, baby. But my favorite leitmotif of this film is when the C chord rises up to its fullest glory. This is the home motif. We first see it when Cooper wakes up in his bed and looks out into his cornfield, his home. This is where humanity started, and C major blasts from the organ to ground us here, not just in the house he grew up in, but the rock we live on. As Cooper leaves his family behind, the C major chord falls apart in like a trillion notes, the chord collapsing under its own weight. Home is fracturing. The next time we hear it is in the first docking scene. It's a little tense. We have these dissonant chords and creepy percussion, the least major that the score has been yet. Even though the docking is going well, you are never safe until the last second. Even Brand closes her eyes right before they attach, almost like she thinks she's about to die, and then C major rises up in a muffled crescendo before disappearing abruptly. This ship is now home. And then Bran goes,
Good job.
like, yeah, I never had any doubts. What C major is doing is transporting the concept of home for Cooper. They will be in this ship for the next few years, and though it doesn't look like one, It is their new home. Pointedly, we never hear C Major like this again on any of the planets that they travel to, because while they are exploring new homes, it's never confirmed until they've figured out the big secret about the planet, and concordantly, never confirmed by the music. In fact, the only time we hear it in relation to a planet is in No Time for Caution. So, the crew go to 2 planets and both of them suck. Surprise, Matt Damon's on one of them, except he's gone totally insane and tries to maroon them on the ice planet. They've got to get back into the space station to stop Matt Damon from leaving them stranded. But luckily, Matt Damon is insane, so he botches the docking procedure and it blows up right before his monologue starts to get boring. Oh shit, the space station's gonna crash. We're gonna die, everyone's gonna die. How do we deal with this?
Cooper, what are you doing?
Docking. It's not possible.
No, it's necessary.
This scene is notoriously good, and it makes some people cry. The music is rousing, and the shots are mythic, and the task seems impossible, but Daddy McConaughey pulls us through to successfully dock with the ship. As they're leaving the atmosphere, C Major slowly takes over the mix, blasting this safety chord to scream at us, we're okay, and the audience goes, huh.
Wow.
And the final time that we hear the home theme is at the very end, when Cooper finally sees his daughter again. C Major on an organ is such a wild idea for a motif, because it feels so basic. It's a fundamental of music. C Major makes this feel like the ultimate human story or something. At least when you're watching and hearing it, it helps you get caught up in the sheer scale of the story. Contradictorily, C Major is so basic that it feels important. Good choice. The other end result of this score is the endless drones. In its quiet moments, the score is almost ambient, sonically linking together every shot into a kind of music video. This movie's really easy to vibe out to because its soundtrack is just a binaural beat meditation. It makes it feel safe and cozy despite all the danger everyone's in. The steady, repetitive, recognizable patterns of pop music make it more accessible, simplifying the story with its purity. This is about humanity's struggle to survive. And love? Part 2, defending Anne Hathaway's monologue.
Love.
I lied to you. I was gonna leave it there, but I can't let it go. People are misunderstanding what this scene is. It's much more nuanced than I'm gonna go against science because I really miss my boyfriend. So, there are 3 viable planets for human life that this crew has to investigate. Each of the 3 planets has an astronaut sleeping there who was given the signal that their planet is good for human life. They visit one, but the astronaut who was sending the beacon is dead, and they find that it is not viable. And along the way, they lose one of their crew members. So now they have to make a choice. Problem number 1, there is only one planet they can visit with the fuel that they have left. Problem 2, the 2 options have different drawbacks. They could go to Dr. Mann's planet. Dr. Mann has good data and he has a high reputation, and the beacon is still calling to them. Edmund's planet has better environmental data, and his beacon was on, but now it is turned off. So since he turned his beacon off, he could be saying that his initial assessment was wrong and the planet isn't viable, don't come here. Seems pretty cut and dry, you should probably go with Dr. Mann's. But
We've no reason to suspect Edmund's data would have soured.
what if the beacon turned off by accident? On the last planet they went to, the beacon malfunctioned. What if something went wrong?
And furthermore, Dr. Mann's planet is a little too close to the black hole, meaning it's less likely that it would have stuff on its planet.
Because like asteroids and shit would just fall into the black hole.
She's actually pretty scientifically sound in her reasoning as to why she'd want to go to Edmund's planet.
2 very good arguments, but
She's in love with Wolf Edmonds. Is that true?
Yes.
so Edmonds was Amelia's boyfriend, and in the scientific method, you have to challenge all potential biases of the hypothesis. This information causes her to lose the room immediately. Cooper's not having it and is trying to shut her down based on her bias.
You're a scientist, Bran.
So listen to me.
This makes Amelia desperate. She does not trust the beacon, and she believes that the data proves that she's right,
Cooper, this is my field. I really believe Edmunds is the better prospect.
but she's lost the scientific argument here. What can she do? Spout some bullshit.
Love isn't something we invented. It's powerful. It has to mean something.
Her last stand is trying to cater to Cooper, the scientist, and the father all at once.
Love has meaning. Yes, social utility.
We love people who have died. Where's the social utility in that?
None.
She posits maybe her love for Edmonds is scientific in some kind of way, explaining how she's drawn to the planet emotionally as well as mathematically, and she's already made a big mistake for science, and as a result, lost one of her companions.
We're not leaving without her data.
That was her fault, and now she's about to be ignored and potentially get into another dangerous situation, dooming humanity if she doesn't succeed in convincing them that they need to listen to her expertise. And in this desperation, she posits that the connection between 2 people can reach across galaxies through time itself, and maybe, like gravity, it's real, and if her love is real and therefore scientific, it shouldn't discount her professional opinion on where they should go next.
That doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Honestly, Amelia, it might.
Utter failure. I think the reason people think this scene is an embarrassing moment of pretentiousness is because it is embarrassing to desperately grasp at straws trying to win a losing battle. Don't get so lost in the sauce about the validity of her crazy hypothesis. It is crazy. All she is arguing for is to not be ignored. And it's a failure. As a result of this, they go to the wrong planet. The scene is framed as embarrassing for Brand and a failure on all parties. If you think it's cringe, I can't stop you from feeling that way, but don't tell me it's not reasonable for a heated work discussion to get personal and for love to make you say crazy shit when you're really desperate. That makes sense. Interstellar isn't arguing that love is science. It's just saying that we need to not discount all emotion for cold scientific reasoning. Because despite her bias, she was 100% correct. What is this video about again? So what are the vibes of Interstellar? For me, it's just what life feels like sometimes, you know? Life is like being on a spaceship, surrounded by disparate people who you just happen to come across in your time being alive. You didn't necessarily choose these people, but they're the ones who have stuck around. They're your companions. Outside your immediate circle is a big, terrifying world of nothing but power games and looming environmental disasters. And sometimes you run into people on your journey that betray your trust and traumatize you, maybe even hurt some of your friends. You make a lot of mistakes and time slips by you so quickly and violently. Years can go by and it feels like you've lost so much time to just doing the same thing again and again. But there are people who aren't necessarily with you, but who are in your heart. True love for another person, not out of an obligation or convenience. When it comes down to it, you would do anything for them. And we carry those people with us, even when we're far away. Maybe you've even made choices that have taken you away from those people that you love the most, and you have to live with that. You can't change your past. All you can do is accept that you made the right choice for yourself, or in some cases, for them. And maybe you can find a way to come back to them and reconcile if you've hurt them. Or maybe your new companions that you've been complacent with have been a kind of family all along, and maybe we can't just get hung up on the past love that we've felt for people that we'll never see again. In the end, Cooper sacrifices himself so Amelia can go on her own to the boyfriend's planet and finally secure a new world for humanity. Luckily, this was the alien's plan all along, and so he gets to save the world. Gravity magic comes in clutch one last time, and he helps save the world with his daughter. And he gets to see her one last time before she dies of old age. Whew. They reconcile and all is well, but that's not the end of the movie. Because Amelia doesn't know that their plan worked. Her boyfriend is dead, and now she's alone on this planet with no hope of seeing anyone ever again. She's destined to become like Dr. Mann and go insane. Unless Cooper can save one more person. Maybe moving on is the most productive thing. Maybe along the way with these companions, you will develop a love for them, and moving forward means investing in the relationships that you have now. After all, what else do you have? Friends are hard to come by, and holding on to any connection you can get can keep you grounded and secure, and most of all, can give you some company in this cold, lonely universe. Hey, that song I just played was really pretty, right? Guess what? It's mine! I just released new music today! That song I played earlier, the montage, the one that sounds like... Yeah, that's from my new EP, and it's out now. You can listen to it on almost all streaming platforms. Also, it's my birthday today, so wish me a happy birthday by listening to my new album. So I don't have a lot of time to make videos, and I like to make sure that they're really good, which takes a lot of time. These people listed are patrons on Patreon, and they have let me carve out time for this. So thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. If you want to become a patron, it helps me make more videos. This video has been a long block, so I feel like I'll have a couple more, a little more frequently. No promises, though. Listen to the album, let me know what you think.